So this is video number 7, and we're going to kick it up a notch today. This is hands down, I think, the best album ever made. Now, my Genesis Trick of the Tail one, I said that was my favorite album, and it is my favorite album to listen to. But the best album also comes from Genesis, so this is my first repeat in the list. But different singer, this is from the Peter Gabriel era, and unbelievable, this one. This is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And if you haven't done this one, you're missing out. Now, this is a completely different thing than just listening to an album. With this guy, you need to sit down and basically say, I'm going to need an hour and a half, nobody bother me. Now, when they reduced this to CD, it made the writing very small, but you have to sit down with the lyrics, you have to sit down with the narrative that Peter Gabriel wrote. This is a double-length concept album, and you really need the hour and a half to sit down with your narrative, with your lyrics, and go through the story from start to finish. This is a story about a Puerto Rican street punk who's 17 years old. His name is Rael. Notice the end of Gabriel's name in that. And he has quite an adventure. Now, the thing about this one is that it's on so many different levels that you can just listen to this one over and over again and pick up new things every time. It came out in 1974, and still there's new stuff every listen that people can get. The only criticism that I've really heard about this album is that CD 1 or album 1 is stronger than album 2. I'm not sure I agree with that. The first one does have some of the more famous tracks, the title track, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Carpet Crawlers, In the Cage. What else is on there on the first one? Back in NYC, Hairless Heart, Fly on the Windshield. So a lot of really strong tracks there for sure. But part 2 does have some incredible tracks too. Lily White Lilith, the incredible The Waiting Room, incredible instrumental, the Lamia, the entire colony of Slipperman, the reprise of The Light Dies Down on Broadway. It's just got so much in there. And so you can listen to this one for just listening to the music. Then if you want to go a little deeper, you can sort of follow the surface story about Rael and his adventures and where he goes in New York City and into this strange, magical underground place. And then, of course, you can go even deeper into the real messages that the songs are about. In the Cage has a surface story, for example, of Rael being trapped in between stalagmites and stalactites in this cage, and that begins to rotate him around, but actually it's a song about fear. And something like Counting Out Time is Rael's first romantic adventure. But again, there's deeper meanings to that and his own feelings of self-worth as you go through this. And the big finish at the end, where he finds the secondary character of his brother John at the end of it, to spoil it and give you the spoiler, his brother John turns out to be him. It's kind of similar to what you might see in the ending of Fight Club or any of those kind of surprise ending movies where he's just seen himself. Some may say Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Hunter Thompson's alter ego being his companion. Of course, this came out long before any of that. This was out in 74. But sort of Peter Gabriel's called it a Pilgrim's Progress, is what he was thinking of as he did it. And as I say, you can just take it to whatever level you want. You can just enjoy the music, which is fantastic. You can enjoy the surface story as almost like a fairy tale, or you can get even deeper and get into the deeper meanings of some of the songs. And just unbelievable piece of pieces of music as a whole thing. And I did do this. I used to sit down when this was in LP on vinyl, and I'd open up the narrative, and I would have the lyrics next to the narrative, and you just follow the whole story through. It plays like a rock opera, but just unbelievable. And of course, the stage show when they toured this was way ahead of its time. In fact, nothing ever worked all the way. They had lots of Spinal Tap type problems trying to put this on because they were so far ahead of their time. The technology just wasn't there yet to put on the kind of show that they tried to. But it's an amazing masterpiece. Best album ever made by any band ever, in my opinion. If you have not heard The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, I strongly recommend, if you enjoyed progressive music, rock music, if you like Peter Gabriel, if you like Phil Collins, The Lamb, this is the one. It's just on a whole other level compared to all the other albums, even on this list. So if you haven't, give it a listen. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.